but a wild, reckless part of her she'd ignored for too long took charge of her voice. "Hurry," she whispered. "There's not much time." Spurred on by her own warning, she twisted away and bent over the stack of tables to scramble for the little packet of condoms in her purse. Damn it, she couldn't reach it. She leaned over as far as she dared and stretched. Her fingertips grazed the bag and... Oh my God! Swift fists yanked her skirt up around her waist. Bare hands clamped on her hips, and a hot mouth trailed over her backside. Her leg muscles dissolved. What was he doing to her? Not bestowing gentle little kisses. Whatever he was up to involved lips, tongue, and, sweet mercy, teeth. A faux beard tickled her thighs, but she couldn't blame her restlessness on the props. He was the one making her squirm. Him. His mouth roamed lower, and any remaining questions flew out of her mind, along with her sense of propriety and every ounce of her dignity. She arched her back and lifted up onto her tiptoes, praying he could reach the spot that craved his attention from this position. And then he angled his head and... Oh, thank you, Santa, for your fast, merciless tongue. Air rushed out of her lungs. She must have made a noise because a stern shh reached her ears. Sorry. She closed her eyes, bit her lip, and fought the urge to cry out. Despite her effort, some sounds simply couldn't be silenced. Her choppy breaths filled the room, punctuated by the squeak of the table every time she moved, and the wet sound of his tongue delving in, out, and around her panties. He deliberately teased her, making her shiver uncontrollably while he whipped her to a frenzy and retreated, again and again, until she rocked backward so hard she nearly toppled the stack of tables and sent them both sprawling. Thankfully, he didn't let that happen. He caught and steadied her, but the low rumble of his laughter washed over her skin. Okay, it was funny. The sheer awkwardness of their cramped love nest, the Santa suit, the looks she imagined on their poor coworkers' faces if someone opened the door right now. A giggle snuck past her lips. Shh! The admonishment came from behind her, and then he sank his teeth into the curve of her butt and sent 2 fingers between her legs, sliding into her, slow, deep. She locked her jaw to stifle a grateful sound and choked back a whimper when he withdrew and used one damp fingertip to paint her flesh with a slow, circling design. Where had this Paul been hiding for the last few months? Wicked, playful, and devastating. This Paul intended to exploit every inch of her, and nothing, good heavens, absolutely nothing, appeared to be off limits. She loved it, and for once in her life, she didn't care about the reasons. All she cared about were the sensations building to a crisis inside her. She swept her arm out, snagged her purse, and used her free hand to dig around until she found the inside pocket. Condom. Clenching her inner muscles around his fingers in a silent plea, she thrust the small packet at him. A tear of a wrapper, the rustle of clothing, and then those hands were back on her hips. He dragged her panties down. She braced herself. Time ticked by. 1 eternal second, 2. Her pulse pounded, and her nerve endings twitched. What was he waiting for? Palms smoothed down her blouse along either side of her spine, and then he moved lower, pausing to give each vulnerable cheek a squeeze. He took her hips and lifted them slightly, and she adjusted her stance to accommodate the deeper angle he wanted. His hands wandered along the insides of her thighs, long fingers sliding between for an all too fleeting caress, followed by another and another. She swayed into his touch, not caring how frantic she looked. Those hands were all she could focus on. Why hadn't she noticed how big and warm and talented they were before? How they could practically finesse an orgasm right out of her